sent into the zone under government orders. The Ecologists, also referred to as scientists or eggheads, are a research group founded by the Ukrainian government. Despite being a government-aligned faction, ecologists maintain good relations with the majority of factions within the zone. The scientists survive relatively well against the hazards of the zone, given their protective suits and reinforced bunkers. Yet from the start of their presence in the zone from 2007 onwards, 1 year after the second emission, they had to heavily rely on the protection of the Ukrainian military. Yet, the military failed to maintain their role as the ecologist protectors for a variety of reasons. The main base in the army warehouses suffered significant casualties to zombification during the larger mission at the beginning of Clear Sky. Similar events also occurred with X-16's Miracle Machine at Yanta, malfunctioning, causing many nearby soldiers to become zombified. Also keep in mind that the majority of the military personnel had little knowledge or training on the zone. It was difficult to stay alive even outside of fighting. This sees the scientists not only defenseless, but besieged by their now zombified former protectors. Who can they rely on now? In Clear Sky and Shadow of Chernobyl, the headquarters for the Ecologists is the mobile lab at Yantar. In Clear Sky, these groups are loners within the area, both doing tasks for the Ecologists as well as offering some level of protection. There's still danger in the surrounding areas and X-16, but at least the lab's perimeter is safe. In Shadow of Chernobyl, the lab in Yantar is surrounded constantly by zombies and mutants. You arrive to see danger almost immediately, and have to fight your way through in order to enter the bunker. Later on, after the psi emitter is disabled, both loners and Judy return and re-establish camp around the lab, as well as a stalker camp to the east of the area. These two factions make the most sense for being here. Loners are just looking for a well-paying job and a place to camp, and Judy because they share the understanding that the zone is dangerous, and it's assumed that they also hand over their artifacts to the scientists. In Clear Sky, Sakharov is the lone ecologist inside the bunker. He's essential to the main plot though. You aid him with acquiring diagrams of the X-Lab's Miracle Machine, and then proceed to assist local loners with repairing the lab's cooling mechanisms. Doing so ensures that S.T.A.L.K.E.R can move on to Red Forest and proceed deeper within the zone. He's also a professor of genetics, although he's experienced in several scientific fields. In Shadow of Chernobyl, he's accompanied by two assistants. In fact, the first living ecologist in Shadow of Chernobyl which you encounter is Professor Kruglov. In the wild territory, he and his research team had been attacked by Wolfhound's mercs, as they're after his research data. You're meant to help escort him back to the lab through mercs, zombies and mutants. It doesn't always work out though, as he tries really hard to die. And if he dies, then it's not the end of the world, as this is where Sakharov's other assistant comes in handy. Semenov spawns when Kruglov dies, simply to take his place for his second mission, taking radiation measurements. Doing this results in you receiving a better psi helmet to resist zombification with X-16. There's also one other ecologist, Vasiliev, the scientist who with a loner Ghost had entered X-16. He had gone crazy and ran away from Ghost, leaving him to die from a controller. He's the body you find dead by the crashed helicopter in western Yantar. That's all for the ecologists of Clear Sky and Shadow of Chernobyl, a tiny group of scientists sent into the zone to research every aspect of it. Although they lose their boots on the ground protection from the military, it's evident that they're still in communication with them and have access to their resources. This is shown through all the crashed helicopters in wild territory in Yantar, as well as ones that commence an attack on the Yantar factory in Shadow of Chernobyl after the Miracle Machine is deactivated. The military soldiers might have difficulty themselves in surviving, but they can clearly transport scientists in and out of the zone as well as aid them. They just happen to crash a lot doing so. In Pripyat, there's similarly one big lab serving as the ecologist base, this time in Yanov. The lab hasn't been there as long as the one in Yantar though. This lab is instead protected by a mercenary group led by Black. I go into depth as to why the mercenaries are here in my Mercs lore video, so I recommend watching that if you haven't yet. There's also the S.T.A.L.K.E.R research team. Loners contracted by the ecologists conduct field research as the mercenaries refuse to leave the lab's surrounding area. Inside of the lab is Professor Herman, the head scientist, and his assistant Ozersky. Herman is uptight while his assistant is a bit more laid back and blunt. With the brain scorcher being disabled, they found it ideal to establish a secondary bunker deeper within the zone. Similarly to Sakharov, they're researching artifacts and anomalies. They have a variety of tasks which consist of researching anomalies, retrieving artifacts, and later finding replacement guards for the lab, which plays into the mercenary plot for Pripyat. There's also Novikov, a former Clear Sky technician now working for the Ecologists. Herman is also interested in two documents you can acquire, documents on X8, the group's old headquarters, and on documents on item 62 regarding the Gauss rifle prototype. That's really all there is to the Ecologists. Since they're a government faction, they don't have some sort of interesting origin. They're sent into the zone to research, to quell the dangers of it, as well as to try to learn more from the mutants, artifacts, and anomalies within the area. It's kind of why they pay so well for mutant parts and artifacts that you find. I feel one important thing for the Ecologists though is they're in contrast to other research groups. Initially you had the group who then became the Sea Consciousness. They were focused on manipulating the noosphere, but created a lot of dangerous inventions along the way, as well as committing many horrific experiments. With the group split, Clear was founded. They were focused on repairing the damaged noosphere after the Sea Consciousness failed experiment. Although they had good intentions, they were often violent in getting their way. And in Call of Pripyat, you also have a mysterious group that the mercenaries are working for. Serban, being Jackal's employer, is a part of an unknown private research institute and hires the mercenaries to gather information regarding the X-Labs. This is purely my own speculation, but I think it's possible that this rival research group may have ties to other former members of the group. Serban may not be a member himself, but I feel it makes sense for former members wanting to reclaim top secret documents, whilst also sabotaging the Ecologists. With all of this, I think it's fair to say that the Ecologists are the good guys out of a few scientific and research groups in the zone. They're not good at fighting, wear dorky suits, and always rely on experienced stalkers for protection and fieldwork, but their goal is understandable and commendable, especially when compared to that of other factions and individuals in the zone. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, I recommend subscribing to know when I release more lore and other content. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and be sure to make a comment if you have any suggestions or insightful comments. Have a great day. If you're still listening, then here's a little bit on my future plans. I'll be doing military, freedom, and then duty lore in that order, finishing up the factions of S.T.A.L.K.E.R, except for Renegades, but that video would be 1 minute long if I even bothered to do so. I'll then proceed to talk about other facets of S.T.A.L.K.E.R like mutants and areas, but I also want to know if you'd listen to the lore of other games presented in a similar fashion. Maybe Deus Ex, Knights of the Old Republic, Morrowind, or Fallout. The games that I really enjoy, but I also think have very deep and interesting stories and lore, which I think I could contribute some decent content for these games. I'd love to hear what you think, so just let me know, and see you later.